All right. Welcome to the middle of nowhere, everybody. This is my first live attempt, so we'll see how this goes. But I'm live here with Bryan Wilson, the author of The Forsaken Planet, The Son of the Prophets, and the soon-to-be released The Dark Element. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I am, as George said, I am Bryan Wilson. I'm the author of the Power of the Stars books. There are 2 novels out right now, a novella, and then this one comes out in about 2 weeks, May 20th, Dark Element, book 3 in the series. And it is a science fantasy series. I like to think of it as a 50-50 sci-fi fantasy genre split, pretty much right down the middle. And yeah, it's been likened to kind of Ender's Game meets Star Wars. I like to think there's Red Rising vibes there, Wheel of Time vibes there, and some other stuff too. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. No, I like it. And I will say that a lot of those vibes do come through in your books. So
yeah, I think you might have been one of the top bingers of the series. Got through those first 2 pretty quick.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get through book 3. I just got that one, so I'll get through book 3 before it gets released for sure. But
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm excited. So why sci-fi?
Well, sci-fi is just, well, to be honest, when I was young, I first got into fantasy. It was The Hobbit that kind of took me into the world of reading. Blasted through that book. It's the first book I remember going home on the weekend. You know, weekends as a kid, you're thinking you're going to have fun, play games, all that stuff. And that was the first time I went home with a book that was assigned for school. And I just spent my whole weekend burning right through the whole thing. Like, we were only supposed to read the first few chapters, I think. And I just killed the whole book in like that one weekend. And that just launched me into my love for reading. And it started with fantasy, but then I started to kind of evolve into just as much love for sci-fi as I got a little older, into my teens. And it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to write a sci-fi book per se. It was, I always loved fantasy, and I was always obsessed with kind of space. I love space opera books and just kind of the mysteries of space and all that. And I just, from that young age, I always just wanted a story that was kind of an epic fantasy tale set in space. And so I kind of put my own together to do that. And that's what eventually, over the next 2 decades, turned into the Power of the Stars series. Yeah,
I was going to say, I remember you saying to a lot of people that it took you 2 decades to write the first book, right?
Yes, it did. Well, it took... You know, I started it in my late teens. It took me, I want to say, like 5 years maybe for the first draft. And this is doing it on and off, going through college, stuff like that.
Of course.
Yeah. But yeah, then it got put to the side for a few more years, and picked it up again my later 20s probably, and did a heavy, extensive self-edit on it. I took some online like video courses and stuff like that. And because I'd never been part of like writing critique groups, or I never took writing classes in college or anything like that. So yeah, I did a heavy, extensive edit. That was when I actually got the cover for book 1, thinking I was gonna, publish it like 10 years before I actually did. And then it got put to the side again. I ended up getting married. I ended up having kids. I ended up, I work construction. I work in new home construction. I'm a GC on the job sites. And so I ended up building, project managing our entire house build. So that was like a 2-year thing right there. It was just all this stuff that kind of, added up to the point of, then it went about 6 years, something like that I hadn't even looked at it. And then in late 2022, I looked at it and I read it for the first time in those 6 years. And it was kind of like reading someone else's work, because it had been so long since I even looked at it. And I wrote it, so I'm biased, but I absolutely loved it. And I was just like, I got to get this out there. I got to at least see if I'm not the only dork who likes this story. So yeah, and that was when I went real hard. I hired an editor and got some beta readers and went real hard into it, and ended up, it was published in June of 2023.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that was probably about a 20-year stretch. Might have been a little less, like something 18 to 20 years, something like that. From typing the first word to finishing it and hitting publish.
So did all the names stay the same?
I want to say yes. There might be a couple of side characters that got changed, but I think like the main cast stayed the same throughout.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, just curious because I hear that's the hardest part is coming up with names for all the characters. Like you have an idea of what they want to be.
And yeah, like, I mean, mine was relatively easier because my story starts on kind of modern contemporary Earth, so it made sense to have kind of normal. Or I mean, I kind of actually went non-normal with the names just because I wanted them to stand out. But like, I remember when I started writing it, my main protagonist, his name's Colton, and I was like, what is a name that's, this is again 18, 20 years ago. I guess it still holds up today. But I was like, what's a name that some people have, but it's pretty rare? But I want one that I can also use like a shortened version as a nickname that everyone uses. And, he's called Colt in the book, probably more than he's called Colton. So
he is.
But yeah, so that's how he came about. And then, is the best friend Tommy. That's a normal name. Ace is kind of not a normal name, but I kind of wanted that hot shot kind of name to go along with the character. And then Morris, I just wanted that classic kind of last name,
Yep. Last name, first name.
Group where they call that one buddy by his last name. So that was kind of where his came about. And then I don't even know how I come up really with the I call them spacelings in my story.
Yeah.
Other worlds. I just thought of things and that's how they come up and they hold.
Yeah. No, one thing that I found very intriguing is that you took like our world and still like used our history, but built a different history that formed our history.
Yeah. And I've always been like obsessed kind of with the ancient history of our world, kind of the things we don't know about. And so that was actually something that evolved a little more as time went on. That wasn't necessarily what I was aiming for when I first started writing it. But then as time went on, I got a little older and I got more into that stuff. I was just like, I really wanted to throw in. I said, that'll be another element I think that'll draw readers to this story is intermixing kind of those ancient mysteries we don't know about in our world and intermixing that into the lore of my world to kind of almost give its own answer to these things from, millennia ago here on Earth. So, and I think I'm glad I did that because I honestly think that's a big appeal that has drawn it helps get someone that's maybe more like an urban fantasy fan, something like that, drawn into my story.
No, I definitely agree. Hey, Bo, welcome to the stream. You're the first visitor. Like I've always had that connection to the history of the world as well. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, just seeing the ancient temples and stuff like that. And everybody's like, I don't know how they built this. They had no.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got pyramids that look identical all across the globe. It's like that wasn't random. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have these civilizations just randomly doing that all across every surface, every continent of our world. Obviously, there was some sort of connection to all of this. What that was, we don't know today. Obviously, maybe the powers that be don't want us to ever know. Who knows? But I thought it was a cool idea to kind of give that reason into my story and just make it so when the reader's like, oh, that makes me think, I know one of my favorite books growing up was Harry Potter. And I think what I loved about that book was it was similar in the sense of like it intermixed that universe into our contemporary world here. And that kind of drew me into that story, almost like, who might say that's not happening? What if? Maybe. And so that's definitely was kind of an aim for my own book to try and do.
Yeah, it makes it seem like, oh, this is a real thing. Like this story could be real. Like
and that's I love hearing that because that's exactly what I wanted to go for. I want people to be like what I was just saying with the Harry Potters, like when I used to read them, be like, what if? Who am I to say that's not going on,
Yep. Yeah, no, I love it. So did you daydream about being Colt when you were younger?
I don't know if I daydreamed about being Colt, but I definitely daydreamed about having those powers and going off to some of those cool worlds and those cool situations. But I guess, you could say I daydreamed about being them then. But I think you have to daydream about the characters when you're writing them,
Yeah.
I would say I think I do my best thinking in the shower. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. But the amount of times over the past, especially since I published this a couple years ago, amount of times ideas float in my head in the shower, and I'm like, oh my god, it's brilliant. Then I'm rushing to get out of the shower, grab my
Yeah.
phone, and, be like, and type it all in for future books.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I could just see, like, when I was reading, especially the Forsaken Planet, like all of a sudden discovering that, oh, I have powers. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's like I know, like, teenage kids or like pre-teenage
sci-fi fantasy nerd from us millennials dream back then was to
yes,
like that, which is why I wrote it back then, was because I said, who's not going to be appealed by this story? I don't know how it holds up with the youth so much today, but hey, I'm still fine. I love it.
Yeah, no, I know, reading it's like, how helpful it would be if I could just use this at work. Like, work would be so much easier.
Yeah. That's another, I think, cool like aspect of my stories, the way like I that was why I put it into every aspect of their society. It's how their technology runs. It's I'm not very like science savvy, so this was also like get out of jail free card for me to just be like, okay, all their tech runs by it, so I don't have to explain exactly how this spaceship is running and the fuel it's using and stuff like that. But yeah, and then that's, as you've read the first book, you see that's definitely like the cool aspect of something like when I watch Star Wars, something like that, is I never really thought about when I was younger, this idea that like if I was able to use the Force, like you can use it for everything. Oh, you want that book across the room? I don't got to get up and walk across the room. Just there it is.
Yeah.
And, and that's why it was kind of a point I made in the first book of like, he talks about how it's kind of menial tasks. They use it for everything. He was like, you Earthlings are probably going to think I'm lazy, but this is what we do. It's just how we've grown our cultures over the past, thousands of years.
Yeah, no. And I definitely thought of the Force, like when I read it, I was like, why didn't they use the Force more like this in Star Wars? It's like,
you could do it. That's anyone who could do it. That's how they would use it. It's like a more realistic term.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, who's going to walk across the room to go grab something when it can come to them every time?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Was that a big inspiration for Solara, or was the Force? Or how'd you come up with Solara?
I want to say it was a lot of things. Kind of just the magic from all the stories I read. I love the magic system in Wheel of Time. That had a big inspiration on it. Force definitely had a inspiration on it. I think it was just kind of a lot of things brought together and kind of I used to play the Halo games, and like, I used to remember loving, I'd play certain maps. I'd play against my buddies. I'd always be the one to run off and grab that, what they call the energy shields in the in the Halo games. And so that's why I worked in energy shields into my story of like, they use their power to kind of, they can either kind of like bulk up their own power with it, or they can use it as a defense around themselves. And yeah, so it was just a lot of all different things kind of mixed into one to create it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I wanted it to be somewhat different too from just like your generic magic system. That's why something I really love in my stories is how they all make their, everyone uses a handheld weapon. I'll never forget some of the first readers I had were just like, why are they using swords? Why are they not wearing armor? And this was all in like the early stages of the book. And I'm like, don't worry, you'll get it later. It's if you're able to fling a freaking cannonball out of your arm, having 100 pounds of armor on you is not going to do much to protect you in that case. So you need to be agile. You need to have handhelds for, because that combat can get up close and personal. And but yeah, and that's why I loved, they create their weapons with the power, and it almost becomes this own natural defense because of that. And I think that was fun for me because it opened up a lot of avenues for my fight scenes. It helps me make them more non-generic, but also make them different within my tale, within my books. It opens up a million different plethora of ideas for me to use. I just finished obviously writing book 3, and there was a couple times in book 3 I'm like, okay, how can I do this and not make it seem like the fights in the other book? Because you've read the second one. There's a lot of action scenes in that one, and
There are
action scenes in book 3 too. So it's starting to get
Heck
a
yeah.
lot of them, and I got to try and find that way to make them different. But it's cool. Something I did in book 3 that I never did in any of the other ones are they have this power. They can make anything kind of appear in front of them. So like I added instances where they kind of start making illusions, I want to say.
Okay.
Like, they're making it seem like something's right here and then it's not there. And that's, again, just another door, another avenue for the reader to be like, another thing I didn't think about with this,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just about changing it up and making it a little bit different than everything else, giving it its own unique vibe.
Perfect. Yeah, no, and you do an excellent job with it, especially the fight scenes.
Yeah, that's probably been one of my highest points of praise. And it makes sense because it's my favorite. When I'm reading books, that's like the scenes that draw me in and I can't put them down are usually those big epic, battle scenes.
Battle scenes, yeah. Yeah, no, the one thing that I've always praised about your writing is the pacing, because you don't just focus on those fight scenes. So
yeah,
because I will say, as a reader, you get tired of reading. Like, you want the fight scenes, but when you're reading fight scene, it's like,
for sure.
Okay, like it just becomes commonplace. And so your fight scenes become more dynamic because there are times to let the heart rate slow down a little bit.
Yeah. No, and you need you need to build up the character development, the emotion too. It can't just be all life or death. You take the stakes away when everything becomes when they're fighting for their life in every single scene. So it's definitely about finding that balance. It's actually almost a little bit of a concern of mine with book 3. There is just a lot of action in book 3, and especially you have all these different arcs that kind of are starting to culminate together. And for me, it was finding a balance of, and according to my beta readers, early readers, everyone seems to love it. So I think I did it, but it was finding the balance of keeping it. I couldn't really write what I wanted to write without it being a ton of action, but at the same time, it was purposeful because I want that end to just almost be like, it's so intense. It's just nonstop, just chaos. But I don't want what you were just saying of, I don't want people to be like, too much action. Oh, it's getting boring now. It's
yeah.
Sorry, I was just reading that. I'm distracting myself.
Oh, you're good.
Usually I don't pop them up because I'm going to distract myself, and I was playing around with it today. How you doing, everyone? But yeah, so that's basically, it's about finding that balance between it all.
Yeah. We can go to Bo's question too. Did you read it?
I'm going to read it right now.
I don't know.
Result of each book release. What's one question? I don't know. I've done, God, this is probably, between all the books, this is probably like, I got to be in the 20s now of how many interviews I've done. So this is a hard one.
See, I thought you'd say hundreds for sure.
No, I wish hundreds. I'm not that popular. But that's a really tough one. God, I remember there was one when I was doing the interviews for book 1. I remember there was like this question I kept expecting to get, and I just never got it in any of them. But that was like 2 years ago, and now it's just gone out of my mind. I don't know. I'm sorry. You got any examples you want to throw out to me? I'll let you know if I've been asked them or not.
I was like, I don't know if Bo's read this one yet, or Bob.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if they have. I
They
sent
should.
it to Bo a long time ago, but when I sent it, he was very upfront and he told me he was so backed up with his TBR, and I said that's fine. I said get to it if you get to it, and so I'm not sure. Probably not. I probably would have heard from him if he had.
Yeah. No, Bo. Usually when he finds a book that he likes, and I know this one's going to be up his alley, just because he and I have been friends for a while now, and I know what he likes, and he'll like your book.
I'm waiting for him to read it, but both of them, I love them, so it's there's no worries whatsoever. It's like I told you, it's get to it when you get to it. I don't want anyone to force my the point of me writing them. I write them so I hope people will enjoy them and use them as a getaway. That's what reading's always been to me. So,
Perfect. Have you read Threadlight by?
No, Zach
Exactly.
Ardo, is that his stuff? I
Yep.
haven't read his stuff. No.
I was gonna say your magic system, like in his, would like mesh extremely well.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I've seen his covers, and I think his are. I think I've noticed like the eyes glowing and stuff like that. How they do in mine, so that makes a little
yep.
bit of sense.
Yeah. So like when I read it, I was like, oh, it's like a branch off of some of that as well, like kind of the force and all of that type of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. I love. I've big part for me was especially when you get into the later books, you kind of learn how the how my the big theme behind my story is kind of the human soul, and I intermix kind of the whole story with souls and kind of what these other cultures think about that, and how the power almost stems from a person's soul. And that's why I thought it was just cool to kind of almost call the eyes. People say the eyes are the gateway to the soul, so that's why when they use the power of their eyes, everyone's power is different. It lights up in the color of their eyes, and so that's why I thought it was a little unique take on it.
no, I do like that. Yours is different still. Don't worry about that. But
No,
I could see similarities. I also thought it was cool how everybody could use the power, not just like a select few, because it seems like I call it
fantasy stories. It's the handful of people we follow are the ones who can use it, and yeah, it definitely opens up that other avenue of, wow, this is crazy. Now, what are these wars going to look like now that
yep.
a single soldier can just wield these massive energy forces?
Yeah, and so I thought that was cool because, like, even in Star Wars, it's only a select few that have the Force and can use the lightsabers and things like that, and then everybody else is just kind of at their mercy.
Yeah,
so
it made in book 3 the first 2 books I didn't really get to have those massive scale, global scale battles and wars as the story evolved, and it finally comes about in book 3, and it made writing those scenes very, very intense, very interesting, also very difficult, because I really had to sit there and think about, battle lines, stuff like that. How would they be altered? I kind of consider myself a student of kind of all the old wars, and so that was all my electives in college and stuff were history. I was such a history buff when I was younger, and I love the show Band of Brothers, that stuff. I mean, obviously it's a show, so you can't take it all for reality, but so I feel like I have a good idea of somewhat of a good grasp. I've never been in the armed forces myself, but I feel like I have somewhat of a good grasp of how our wars were fought and stuff like that. And so it was, how do I take that and blend it into these futuristic societies that have this advanced technology, and also everyone has the power. It's almost like everyone has an assault rifle on their person at all times, except it's 10 times more powerful. And how would that affect these wars and stuff like that? And it was definitely a challenge, but one I hope I drove home, and one that definitely makes my war and action scenes. It's what makes, I think, book 3 so much more intense, is just the scale of violence and the scale of you realize what's at stake with this war really ramping up and taking another level.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to get to book 3. So which one was the hardest to write?
Probably book 1. Took me 20 years. But yeah, no, it's definitely book 1, just because, I wrote it when I started it. It's just easier now after having gotten that experience of book 1, of working with an editor, working with beta readers, having people have actually read my work that aren't family or friends, and offering valuable feedback in that sense. That makes writing so much easier. And it's like anything you do, you get better as you go. You get better the more you do it. So the second 2 were definitely much easier in that sense than book 1. Book 1 was very much, I said earlier, I never took writing classes when I was younger. I wasn't part of any writing critique groups or anything like that. So book 1 was very much teaching myself how to do it as much as I could teach myself. Before finally, I felt, even when I worked with the editor, I felt kind of lost. He was using terms and stuff that I know now, but I was just like, I don't even know what he's talking about here. But I figured it all out. I was able to do it, and yeah, but it's definitely book 1, not even a question.
Yeah. So what's one thing, we'll use both question. What's one thing you've learned that you wish you had known at the start?
The Amazon algorithm. Not that I've learned it per se, but I wish I knew its finer touches and the strategies to take going into it. I saw earlier today. I saw Michael Michelle was with Bearded Book Beast on his channel, and he was talking about why he just did he just republished his entire his book, and it's basically because it's very hard if you don't hit the Amazon algorithm on that first go, and you don't get consistent sales, and you're not getting consistent traffic to your page for months after that first release. You're kind of burning yourself for all of them down the road, and that was very much what happened to me in book 2. Was yes, book 1 came out, I had a little bit of a fire. I was actually did pretty good for about 2 months, but then it just kind of flatlined. That was when I started to get into ads, and I was able to pick it up a little bit, but it never really took off to that where Amazon wants you to be. And those, they say they want you kind of top 500 in all your rankings, and you're supposed to be, I think, like top 20 something thousand in the Kindle store or something like that. But yeah, so then book 2 came out, and I got that blip that everyone always talks about, but that lasted maybe like a month and a half, and then it came crashing back down to earth. So definitely, I wish I could have redo my first one, but now I got 3 books out in the series, so there's no republishing and restarting this one. So at this point, I'm happy to just get them out there. I look at it as how many authors in the world in the history have ever blown up on their first book. It's not, it's not likely for most. Most usually have like 10 out before. And what happens is if you get popular later on, this is hopefully a story people come back to. And don't get me wrong, I'm still trying. I'm giving it my all with this 3rd book to kind of find that way to just pop that algorithm real good. And maybe it catches and maybe it holds. I don't know. I'm sure there's some people who have done it deeper into a series and not just on their first book. I just know when a series is connected, Amazon goes by those past rankings, those past results. So I'm not expecting this one to just blow up out of the blue. If it didn't do it in the first book, it's unlikely it'll do it in later ones. But it's just about trying to build consistency and keep your rankings at a solid level for a certain stretch of time. And I have heard, it's not impossible that if you can do that, you can keep it up for a set amount of months, then the algorithm might take hold and can pull it. And then that's especially if you have 3 of them out, that could really be a boon that, now they're all taking off. So we'll see. I'm still trying, but that would definitely be the thing I wish I knew at the start. I wish I knew that going into, and I tried to teach myself that stuff, but it's one of those things where I think until you have your book out and you understand how KDP works and you understand really how the rankings, you're able to analyze them, which you're not able to do until you're published. That's, I think, it's what I wish I could have done beforehand, but there was only so much I could do beforehand. So, but that would be the one that I would go back, and I wish I could take the knowledge out of my brain, jump into a time travel machine and plop it into mine 3 years ago and jump back and see if the results were any different, but it is what it is.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And it's probably something that most authors or like future authors don't really think about. They're like, oh, my book's out there, it's going to take off.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's so many books out there. It's not an easy.
Especially with AI is just filling up all especially Amazon, and how many thousand AI books I think I heard like every week are going on there. So that's it's just filling up its algorithm. It's making it all wonky. It's tough.
Yeah.
And there's other ways to sell your books. There's authors like Zach ZS Diamante. He doesn't rely on Amazon at all. He does a great job of just being hardcore on socials and selling on his website, pumping out Kickstarters, and that's definitely a way you could really build your audience as well. It's not a way that really works for me. I'm just with a business outside of this, 2 young kids. I just don't have the time to invest in the Kickstarters, and I'm not good at social media anyway. At least with making content, I never used it ever before the publishing and before getting into this sphere. And so, to make a video, I've been trying to, I know some people are doing so well on TikTok. So TikTok was the one I never really tried. I said, well, I'll give that a go. And I've been trying on there and I do okay, I guess, but it just takes me I'm wasting way too much time trying to make videos on these simple videos and stuff on there that I'm like, and you're supposed to post every day on there. I'm just like, I just don't got the time for this. I wish
Yeah.
but unless I want to just throw away time with my kids or something like that, which I'm not willing to do, it's tough. It's a tough go, but there are other ways, and which is good for the indie publishing scene.
Yeah. No. Do you look forward to when your kids can read your books?
Oh, absolutely. They're young. They're only 7 and 4, but they are already so supportive. They they're always running into my office. Daddy, I want to keep one of your books in my room. They're constantly taking pictures of with holding my books and stuff like that. So it's
yeah.
I know I should. It's tough though. They're still too young. Like I'm even trying to get my oldest to. I've been trying to read like a chapter of Harry Potter at night with her, and she just doesn't. She's a very energetic one. Never sits still. Never. My younger one, I think if she was her age, my younger one would probably sit there and be happy to listen to me read to her. But my older one just wants to bounce around the room at all times. So
yeah.
But I definitely will at one point read it to him.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So now we've got the easy questions out of the way.
All right, here's the hard ones. These are the ones you were warning me about before we.
So, yeah. Hey, welcome.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah, I was like, Matt joined us. All right. So. We're gonna make a movie out of all your books, but I don't have the budget to hire actors, so you can only pick people from the book community. Who's gonna play your main cast?
Who's gonna play my main cast? I got to pick people from the book community.
You do.
Oh, that's a tough one. All right. Well, Bo can be Willick. He's the master trainer there. Oh man, this one is so tough. I think I got to do my boy Sam Paisley as Colt. Good old Colt.
All right.
Dave, how you doing? Who would be Ace? Who's a little bit of a smartass on in the indie circle? I don't know. Is there anyone out there like that?
ZB Steele, probably.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know him too well, but we'll say he could be him. Morris gets angry a lot. Who gets angry? Maybe we'll say JCM Byrne. He doesn't get angry, but I see him arguing with people on Twitter a lot. So we'll say he could be Morris. Who's Tommy? Tommy is stoic and as professional as can be. Who we got that in the indie community? I'm not too sure. I can't think of anyone right now. Oh, you give me one. Who's maybe in the reviewer world? Who's like that?
I don't know. That's a tough. But I asked you the question. You're supposed to come up with.
I'm doing this like it's a job interview.
I know.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll say like I talked about Zach before. Zach could be Tommy. He's very professional with everything he does. So,
there you go. That would be a good one.
But I guess that would be the main cast.
Yeah.
I mean, I could keep going with all of them, but I don't want to do that.
That's a lot of characters.
Yeah, that's I got a lot of side characters in the first book. So
you do. Yeah. No, I just felt like that would be a fun, probably a question you haven't received yet.
No, there you go. You help Bo out there.
I know.
There's the one I was never asked.
Yep. I know. I have to make it different somehow. But yeah, you also have pretty cool animal companions.
Yes. Yeah, that was definitely one I was trying to I wanted to implement so bad in book 1, but it just didn't make sense to put it in book 1. And it was just, once I put it in book 2, I was so happy. It just makes writing some of those scenes. The one temple scene there, with everything going on with Tommy and the mercenaries there, that was such a blast. And even book 3, I had, I added some kind of beast kind of monster characters in book 3, and so facing them off against Cloud was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All the beta readers, everyone, he's just a top character. One of my beta readers was like, if you kill Cloud, I am going to kill you. I'm not even kidding. I will go to prison for the rest of my life. I'll be so upset. And I was just like, no, we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen yet, but he's sticking around for a little bit because I'm having a lot of fun writing him. So
that's a good thing. Yeah. I can see animal companions almost taking over series sometimes. Like they become more beloved than the main characters.
Oh yeah, yep. Oh, they're just so much fun. I've always enjoyed. Like I loved, the Assassin's Apprentice, that series. I forget what the series, Farseer trilogy, is that series?
Yep.
I loved the whole animal companionship there. I love Perrin's arc and Wheel of Time was just like amazing with the wolves. So I definitely knew I wanted it. I wish I could have got it into book one. Just didn't necessarily make sense in book one though. And so it's in there now though. And it's a major part of, as you read book two, and it's even more so in book three.
Yeah, no, I feel like when you introduced it was the appropriate time. Like,
yeah. No, it's just another element to actually make book two extremely
exciting. That would be fun.
I just saw Bo's question. I really want to get to Worldcon, but I don't know if it's going to happen. We'll see. Financial issues this year. So if it was next year, I think I probably would have been able to make it, but we'll see. If things change, though, it might be a last-minute decision.
It'll be fun. It's close to my house this time, so.
Oh, are you going to it?
I'm planning on it, yep.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a quick trip, it's like, I can drive up the road.
I think 90% of the indie bubble, at least that are in the States, are either Colorado, Utah, or upper Northwest corner. So that's why I feel like everyone's going to it. I feel like I'm like, well, you're not going. Couldn't be any farther for me, really. But
I was like, it's clear across the U.S., like as far away as possible, but.
Yeah, I really want to go. I'm really trying. I know, I'm part of that break-ins group. A ton of them are going. I think there's at least 4 of them going. I really want to, but I don't think it's going to happen. We'll see.
Yeah.
Life's not easy when you got 2 little kids at home too. My wife works full time. You can't just up and leave all the time.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Hope you guys. All right. Maybe I'll see you there. Maybe.
We'll cross our fingers.
Yep.
Yeah, get the Dark Element signed, all that.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it'll blow up. I got about 4 months for it to blow up before Worldcon, and if that blows up, I could live a little more stress free. And then I'll say, all right, I'll dump a couple thousand. I'll head over there.
I know. We just need Bo and Bob to read it and start yelling about it, and then it'll blow up.
That's right. That's
big names.
Correct. I hope they're taking notes.
I know. See, I've tried to leave hints for them about series they'd like, because I know Bo loves Threadlight. That's why I kind of threw that in there. Be like,
I appreciate.
You should read this one.
I'm sure he'll get to it when he can. Like I said,
when he can. No, and I know they will. All right, we got sidetracked.
We need a series that a ragtag group of animal companions banding together to save their people. That would be a series,
right? That would probably be an all-time bestseller right there.
Yeah, that would be. Well, especially if it was like already popular ones.
Yeah,
like one of those interdimensional stories and all the what was the one's name in the Assassin books? I remember the character was Fitz. Who was his animal companion? I'm blanking now. I read that like 15 years ago, probably, if not longer.
I've only read the first 2.
I can't remember.
Yeah. I don't know. I know there's going to be some Farseer people like watching this later, and I'm going to get yelled at like, how did you not know?
I know. I probably just made it so they don't read my book now.
I feel like that's one of those series that, like, if you say anything bad, there's that group that will just hunt you down. Like, but no. When dogs die in books idea now. Yeah.
It's really when any animals get offed in the books, I'm livid. I'm not liking it.
Yep. No, I agree. I know. I was like, my dog's at my feet. Hey, Chris.
How you doing? He's ready.
All right.
He's taking Planet.
There we go. We'll get Chris. Chris will start hyping it up here.
Maybe.
Let's see. I know you left everything kind of with a cliffhanger in book 2. Did you get any hate mail from it?
Just the usual. You better get the next book out right away. I left my first one wasn't really a cliffhanger, but it definitely the events of the end of the first one, I think, have everyone ready to like, oh my God, I want to get going on this next one right away. 2 is definitely much more of a straightforward cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's the definition of a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
just saying.
Definitely, it was more just so straightforward. Just where's the next book? I need it right now. I would be reading it if I had it. Blah blah blah. Those types of things. And just to brace yourself, book 3 is very much like that as well. So
I kind of figured when you ended that one, I was like, all right, I see how he's doing this now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's audio is, I probably would have had hundreds more people have my books if I had it in audio, but I just did an interview the other night and I was saying on there, it's just, the cost is just so much that I want to make sure when I do it right. And I also want to make sure I'm close to the end of my series so that there'll be consistency of, I'll be able to use the same audiobook narrator for all the books. I won't run into a problem of having already done it with one person and either that person's gone missing for whatever reason, or I can't get them for the later ones. And then also I'm hoping, as someone who runs a business outside of this and is used to trying to be a financial sales factor and all that, I'm hoping I can get a nice good deal for handing someone 3+ books at once and saying, "Oh, make me an audiobook for these."
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And the audio, I do a lot of audiobooks because I drive. Like, I do live in the middle of nowhere, so driving, I use audiobooks to fill in the time. But
well, it seems like it's what a lot of people do. I mean, I run meta ads, and probably 50% of the questions I get on them are, when's it going to be in audio? Is it in audio? Are you thinking about audio? I drive 18-wheelers. I can only listen to audio. I haven't read a book in 30 years. I'm just like,
yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I'm like, I'll definitely making it a goal. I'm trying. Believe me, I'm trying, but it's not there yet.
Yeah.
But there will be one day. I'll definitely have audiobooks one day. It's just, I've been writing. I've published. This will be my 4th book I'm publishing in 2 years. There's a lot of costs involved with that, and obviously a lot of time involved with that. And I've only listened to a select handful of audiobooks in my life, and it's just been recently and over the past couple of years. And it's only been because I've had fellow indie authors basically giving it to me as an ARC, to read and review. So I don't have much experience with that. So it's something that when I do it, I want to be able to focus on, listening and learning the editing aspect of that, of how I want to, work with the person to have them edit it to the right way and whatnot. So I anticipate it being very time consuming for me. And that's why I'm going to do it more so when I'm just not sitting down and pumping out writing hardcore like I've been for the past 2 years.
I was going to say your series has come out very quick comparatively to some, like, because you said 2023, right? It was book 1.
June 2023. I published book 1, and then book 2 came out April 2024. The novella came out in July of 2024, and now this is coming out in May 2025. My business outside of writing has been slower the past couple of years. The economy hasn't been great in my area for new home construction. So that's been something that's helped me do it. And then on top of that, when I published book 1, and I did have, not everyone loves it, obviously, but I did have a pretty good reception to it. And a lot of people wanting that next one out there and asking about it and stuff like that. And that kind of gave me a kick in the ass of like, all right, I'm a little slower right now, work-wise. I got to do this while I can. I want to do it while I can. And so, yeah, I've just been doing them as I can and trying to get them done. And I also, getting that praise kind of, it's got the ideas flowing more. It gives me the boost, so it gets the ideas flowing more in my mind. And I'm the type of person that once I get in that flow, I got to get it done. I can't just do 1,000 words here, don't touch it for a couple of days, 1,000 words there. It'll never work. It'll be a terrible, terrible product. So I need to kind of go a straight path with it and stay in the zone the whole time. And so that's just, I've been lucky in the sense of I've been able to do that over the past couple of years.
No, that's awesome. Book 4 is underway, I'm guessing.
I have not written a word of book 4, but I have written the entire outline, which is like, I'm gonna say it's like 15 to 20 pages, something like that typed. I have the book fully thought out. I just haven't. I've been trying to my editing. I just finished finally, like the editing and read throughs and all that stuff of the Dark Element probably a couple of weeks ago. Since then, majority of my extra time I've been spending trying to make drafts for social media stuff, and I'm trying to do a real big marketing blitz going into the release over this next month. I'm really trying to push that those rankings I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
hold them at a good number for, I'm hoping, at least a month. They've been good for about the past month now. I'm trying to hold it through till release, and then hoping release will help hold it through for another couple months. And if that doesn't help it catch the natural algorithm, nothing's ever going to. So, so I'm just making sure I give it the best try I can now, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I bought my copies up there, so
I appreciate it.
So I know they are pretty books. The covers are really nice. Did you use the same cover artist on all of them, or different one?
Yes, same cover artist. I was fortunate. I told you how I got the first cover about 5 years before I published, and I was
that's what made me wonder. It's like you said you got it like way before you published. I was like, that.
But they're more so the place I go through is it's more so like what's that other company, that Midlar, is that the name of that one company? They're more so like them, where they just kind of make the majority of their own. It's kind of, they have the templates on their website. I think a lot of people just go through them and pick, but I actually picked the first book cover was one of their templates, but I worked with the person and had a couple changes made to it. And then the next two have been book 2 and book 3 were all custom. I was lucky. I think she's the owner. It's the Cover Collection is the company, and I work with a woman named Debbie. I believe she might be the owner. Every time I email them, I get her. So it's either it's a small company, and she's the owner of it. But yeah, no, I've been fortunate that 5 years later she was still there, and really our process runs pretty smoothly. I mean, my covers aren't overly intricate. That makes things a lot easier, but I think they get the point across of what genre at least it is. Hey, Joe.
What's up, Joe?
Of course. That's quick.
There's your solution, Brian.
Yeah. Yep. When my kids are older and they don't consume pretty much every second of my free time, then I think I probably can pump out at least 3 books a year. I ain't going to be doing them in 2 or 3 days, but I'd be pumping them out pretty quickly if that was the case. But 2 or 3 days, that's pretty wild.
I was going to say, do you have plans for?
I just said.
Right. Do you have plans for more series in the future? Do you have other ideas already?
Yeah, I do. I actually have a dystopian novel. I wrote probably about half of it, maybe 10 plus years ago. I don't know, sometime in my 20s. I wrote about half of it so far. I would definitely love to get back to that one. I like dystopian. I'm a dystopian fan myself. Anything end of the world has always drawn me in. So especially if it's something that's end of the world and 20 years into the apocalypse, those type of stuff are just great. I'm a big The Last of Us fan. That type of stuff.
Yeah.
That'd probably be, and that's actually huge on that's a mega market on Amazon too. So it's just a win-win in the sense of that's something I wrote even before knowing about Amazon and its algorithm and all that. So it'd probably definitely be the next series I would jump in, but I'm not thinking about that at all until I get this series done. Because if I jump on another one, I don't know if I'll ever get this one done. So, and I'm not anticipating being able to write as fast as I have the past 2 years. I'm going to be lucky to get a book out in a year. It'll probably be more like 2 years for the next one. So, that's my focus right now.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. So, but you definitely have a talent. Hopefully you keep continuing, have several series going in the future. So
I appreciate that. That's definitely a plan of mine.
Yeah.
The beauty of writing is it's something can be done at any age. And, we all eventually, our kids get older and go off and we all retire and find a lot more time on our hands. So I'm hoping that'll be something I can lean back into especially later on. I plan to still keep doing it till then, obviously, but
Yeah.
I plan to, that'll be my fun during retirement. We'll be doing stuff like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I know you said you were a fan of The Last of Us and all of that. You've been watching the show. So
Yes, I have been. And
yeah.
the games, nothing will ever live up to the games, but the show's still good. I'm still very much enjoying it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So all right, let's see. Final questions. Anybody have any final questions for Bryan before we start wrapping up? Let's see if anybody's listening to what we say.
No, they're all Googling amphetamines and
I know I was like, apparently they're making sales in the other kind of variety. Yeah. So what are you most excited about with your book coming out on the 20th?
I think I'm just most excited about just seeing the reception. I think it's my best book I've written so far. That has been basically anyone who has read it. There haven't been too many yet who have finished it, but the ones who have, that's basically what they've been saying to me as well. I actually just woke up to a DM from one of my ARC readers that was just like blown away by it, and that's what they were like. This is by far the best one of any of them. So it's definitely the reception. And then other than that, it's just I think I have a better strategy going into this one than I did my previous books. So I'm hoping to see if that helps at least extend the flow of sales and all that stuff. We'll see. Let's see if the boost goes any longer. But yeah, that's basically about it.
Yeah. Got a few questions. Like, who's your favorite character in the book series?
Ooh, that is a good one. I mean, we were talking about Cloud before. Cloud is he is a champion. He's definitely a fan favorite now.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta love. I think any author probably loves their main character, right? I gotta love Colt. He's probably the most me out of any of them. So I guess that might be a little arrogant to say. I don't know, but I of course have a soft spot for him. And then Violet would be the other one. I really, her storyline really picks up in book 3, and she's another one that seems to have been a fan favorite. You saw how it picked up a little more in book 2 for her, and
yeah,
he'd probably be my other one that I really have a lot of fun writing.
Yeah, see, I really enjoy Ace.
He's another one that's it's usually
yeah.
Colt, Ace, or Violet, or
yeah,
three that people enjoy. Ace is definitely the most fun to write. I'll say that.
Yeah,
just doesn't give a shit about anything.
Yeah, it's like he's just
always the fun characters. So
yeah, he just goes full out every time.
Oh yeah, and you're gonna love him in book 3. Trust me, because it just
heck yeah,
it goes 10 times more than it's even been in the other books. So
yeah, no, that one fight scene in book 2 with Ace was like top notch. Like,
the one in the in the old establishment. It was in like almost the old gambling place.
Yep, yeah. That's the one.
The 2 twins and Snake Face.
Yep.
Yeah. That was one of my more favorite fight scenes to write, because it was just his snarky attitude, blending that into the narrative of also these intense action scenes was a blast. With
his comments at times thrown in there, and it's like, yep. It makes it great. All right. So, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood with Solera?
My brain's breaking trying to think about how that question even works. But
so you never heard that?
I've heard that how much wood would a woodchuck chuck, but
I had to throw your own twist in there.
Yeah. No, Solera is they could chuck a lot of wood with Solera. Probably a real lot of wood. I don't know. It'd take a long time to get tired.
Yeah. So no. Well, this has been fun, Bryan.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't read his series, I highly encourage it. I've had a lot of fun. Like Bryan said, I read book 1 and 2 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, got through it real quick.
Yeah.
Surprised. pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. So no, it just goes to show, like I'll jump right in when I enjoy the story like that. So I'm looking forward to jumping into book 3. Probably, hopefully here in the next few days. Hopefully I'm finishing up my couple reads that I had to get done. But
when you get to it, like we said earlier, when you get to it.
Well, I want to get to it. That's the problem. You're not pushing me to read it. It's my brain's telling me like, hey, that ended. We need more.
You should read the novella before book 3. If you haven't read that, that's you don't have to have read it, but it'll make the experience of book 3 better.
Oh, okay. I might have to break my rule of no novellas, but
oh, really? Why no novellas?
Typically because I get frustrated with how short they are.
Okay. Well, mine's part of my series, though, so you could just look at it as it's part of the series. It's not, and you will get frustrated with it, but then you can dive into book 3, and it'll make book 3 that much better because a lot of where the frustration will come from is put into that book. So,
I actually have a whole video on why I don't read novellas. But
I'll have to look at that. That's interesting. I never really read novellas that much either. Pre-publishing, pre-indie scene. It wasn't anything against them, but it's not something I ever really came across. I was always a big series reader, so it's just what I looked for when I looked for books.
Yeah, no, and
BookTube or anything like that. It never got my recommendations from other people. It was just kind of searching bookstores myself and always just picking which one appealed the most to me.
Yeah, that's exactly how I was, and I have nothing against novellas like per se, but I don't know. Every time I've read them, I've just never enjoyed them to the extent that I enjoy a full novel, and
which makes sense. I mean, they're condensed versions of a story, so it's just everything feels quick. Everything I think a lot of times does feel a little more face value, and
and so just knowing that I don't enjoy that, like the ones I've read, I'm like, I just haven't enjoyed these. Why am I going to keep doing this to myself? So that's why I haven't read novellas.
Oh, that makes sense. You will like mine though, because it's just ingrained into my series. It's got like the lore plays into it and stuff. So it's already like because you've read the other ones, I think you'll like that.
Okay. I might give it a shot. No promises though.
That's fine. You've read my work the past couple of weeks. I can't consume all your time.
So, but all right, guys. Thanks for hopping in.
Thanks for stopping in, everyone.
We're gonna let no, Bo. I am who I am. But no, thank you guys for stopping in. Go read Bryan's series. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye, everyone.
Sweet.